The stellar confederation of humanity had grown steadily for 100 years. Humans now lived on planets in 12 different star systems. They weren't the most advanced species in space, but they were clever and stubborn. Commander Park watched the strange ships through the large window of his vessel, the HSS Dauntless. The alien craft moved perfectly together. Their outer shells shined with colors that shifted like oil on water. Human ships had nothing like this. "Commander, they want to talk to us," said Lieutenant Kim from her station. Park fixed his uniform jacket. "Let them through." The screen lit up with the image of the alien. It called its people the Reverie Collective. The creature had skin like polished metal and stood very tall. It looked at the humans as if they were insects. After exchanging a few words, the alien cut the connection. Kim looked worried. "They don't think much of us." "Good," Park said with a small smile. "They'll underestimate what we can do." The Reverie attacked 3 days later. They chose New Buzan, the human colony farthest from Earth. The aliens thought it would be easy to defeat such simple creatures. They were wrong. The people of New Buzan fought back hard. Miners turned their drilling equipment into weapons. Farmers used crop dusters to drop homemade bombs. Everyone worked together in ways the Reverie hadn't expected. Colonel Lee led the defense. She had only a small military force, but she used the colony's narrow canyons and dense forests to slow the enemy. Her soldiers would attack quickly, then disappear before the Reverie could respond. "They expect us to line up and fight like in old Earth wars," Lee told her officers. "We won't give them what they want." The Reverie became frustrated. Their advanced weapons couldn't hit what they couldn't see. Their battle computers couldn't predict what the humans would do next. "These primitives don't follow proper battle protocols," complained the Reverie commander. "They hide and strike without warning. There is no honor in this." His second-in-command checked their losses. "Honor won't matter if we can't defeat them." On the 5th day, the Reverie cornered the main human force near the colony's power plant. This time, the humans couldn't run away. The aliens prepared for their final victory. "Surrender now," the Reverie commander broadcast. "Your primitive tactics have failed. Your colony will fall today." Colonel Lee didn't answer. Instead, she checked her watch and smiled. High above the planet, 5 human warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They had pushed their engines beyond safety limits to arrive in time. The ships immediately launched fighters and drop pods toward the surface. The Reverie ships in orbit turned to face this new threat. They were bigger and more powerful than the human vessels. But human captains didn't fight the way the Reverie expected. Captain Sung of the HSS Indomitable split his fighters into tiny groups. They darted between Reverie ships, firing at engines and sensors instead of weapon systems. Other human ships released clouds of metal dust that confused Reverie targeting computers. "They're not following any known battle formation," said a confused Reverie officer. "They're just everywhere." On the ground, Colonel Lee heard the sonic booms of drop pods entering the atmosphere. "That's our cue," she told her troops. "Hit them with everything now." The colonists emerged from hidden positions all around the Reverie forces. Farm tractors charged alien tanks. Civilian shuttles dropped mining explosives. Children even helped by flying small drones that distracted Reverie soldiers. The Reverie commander couldn't believe what he was seeing. These humans fought with kitchen knives alongside laser rifles. They used ancient bioweapons next to modern plasma guns. Nothing made sense about their approach to war. "Pull back to the ships," he ordered finally. "We need to regroup." But the retreat turned into chaos. Human ships had already damaged their transports. The Reverie, used to orderly withdrawals after countless easy victories, found themselves truly fighting for survival for the first time in generations. 3 days later, the last Reverie ship limped away from the TOS CD system. They had lost nearly half their attack force to what they had considered a primitive species hardly worth their attention. On New Buzan, humans celebrated their victory. Buildings burned, and many had died, but they had stood against a technologically superior enemy and won. Colonel Lee met with Commander Park, who had brought the reinforcements. They stood on a hill overlooking the main settlement. "They'll be back," Park said, "and in greater numbers." Lee nodded. "Yes, but next time we'll be ready. And they still won't understand us." "That's humanity's greatest strength," Park agreed. "We never fight the way anyone expects. We've been fighting ourselves for thousands of years. We know every trick." A young soldier brought them a captured Reverie communication device. The aliens were already sending messages throughout their empire, calling for a larger attack force. "Look at this," the soldier said, pointing to the translated text. "They're calling us dishonorable and unpredictable and dangerously innovative. They sound angry." Colonel Lee smiled. "Good. Angry enemies make mistakes." Commander Park studied the Reverie words carefully. "They still don't understand. They think we're fighting unfairly, that we should follow proper battle procedures like they do." "Let them think that," Lee said. "The whole galaxy is about to learn an important lesson." "What's that?" asked the young soldier. Park's face turned serious. "If you want to beat humanity in a war, you better be ready for the fight of your life. Because we don't know how to give up, and we've never played by anyone else's rules." In the darkness of space, the damaged Reverie ships fled toward home, carrying news of their unexpected defeat. Behind them, humans were already preparing for the bigger fight to come. The Reverie Supreme Council gathered in their grand meeting chamber. Tall windows showed the three suns of their home system. The leaders sat in silence as they watched recordings from the battle at New Buzan. "This defeat means nothing," said Supreme Leader Kazan. His silver skin reflected the light as he stood. "These humans simply got lucky." War Minister Dex nodded. "Their colony was small but prepared. We underestimated them once. It won't happen again." "I suggest we attack 3 human systems at once," said Fleet Commander Vex. "They cannot defend everywhere. Their forces will be spread too thin." Kazan approved the plan. The Reverie would send their 2nd, 3rd, and 4th fleets to crush the humans. Each fleet had over 100 warships. The humans had barely 30 ships in total. "Let the galaxy witness how we deal with upstart species," Kazan said. On Earth, the nations of humanity faced their greatest challenge. Old enemies put aside their differences. Former rivals now worked together. Everyone understood what was at stake. Admiral June walked into the emergency meeting in Seoul. The room fell silent. Though small in size, her presence commanded respect. She had won impossible battles before on Earth. Now she would need to do the same in space. "The Reverie are coming back," she said simply. "Our spies report they will attack 3 systems at once." General Wu from China stood up. "How can we fight them? They have more ships, better weapons, and advanced technology." Admiral Jun smiled. "The same way humans have always fought stronger enemies. We adapt. We surprise them. We break the rules they expect us to follow." She walked to the large map showing human territory. "The Reverie fight like they've been fighting for thousands of years. They use the same tactics against everyone. They expect us to do what other species have done, either fight in formation or surrender. And we won't do either," said President Garcia. "Exactly," Jun replied. "Every civilian becomes a soldier. Every tool becomes a weapon. Every ship becomes a trap." The leaders began planning. They had 2 weeks before the Reverie would arrive. In the Epsilon Eridani system, the Reverie 2nd Fleet appeared in perfect formation. 120 warships ready for battle. Their sensors showed only a few human defenses. "This will be quick," said the fleet commander. "Begin standard attack pattern." As the Reverie ships moved forward, their communication systems suddenly went silent. No ship could talk to another. Their coordination fell apart. "What is happening?" demanded the commander. His technology officer looked confused. "The humans are using our own communication frequencies against us. They're flooding them with music and something called cat videos." The Reverie ships tried to switch to backup systems, But the humans jammed those too. Each Reverie captain now had to make decisions alone, something they rarely did. Then the asteroids attacked. The humans had attached engines to hundreds of space rocks. These now flew toward the confused Reverie ships. "Shoot them down," ordered the commander. But when the Reverie weapons hit the asteroids, many exploded into clouds of metal dust. This dust stuck to Reverie ships, blocking sensors and weapon ports. In the Tau CD system, the Reverie Third Fleet faced a different surprise. They surrounded a group of human cargo ships, expecting easy targets. "Surrender your vessels," commanded the Reverie leader. Of course, came the human reply. "We're just simple traders. Please don't hurt us." The Reverie moved closer to capture the ships. Suddenly, the cargo containers opened. Inside were not goods but weapons and fighters. The helpless trade ships were actually carefully disguised carriers. Small human fighters swarmed out like angry bees. They weren't trying to destroy the Reverie ships, just damage specific parts. They targeted engines, sensor arrays, and weapon systems with surgical precision. "They knew we were coming," realized the Reverie commander. This was a trap. At Sol, Earth's home system, the Reverie Fourth Fleet approached with caution. They had heard about the problems the other fleets were facing. They would not make the same mistakes. "Scan everything before we approach," ordered Fleet Commander Traz. The scans showed nothing unusual, just a few defense platforms and mining operations. The fleet moved forward carefully. From the mining stations, thousands of small drones launched. These were simple machines meant for cutting rocks. Now they flew toward the Reverie ships. "Destroy those drones," ordered Traz. The Reverie weapons easily shot down hundreds of drones, but there were thousands more, and they were too small to target efficiently. The drones reached the hulls of the Reverie ships and began cutting through the metal with their mining tools. "They're cutting into our engine sections," reported an officer in panic. Commander Traz watched in disbelief as small mining machines caused his mighty warships to lose power and drift helplessly in space. At Proxima Centauri, General Han led the ground defense when Reverie forces landed. Instead of meeting them in open battle, her soldiers melted into the forests and mountains. "Find the humans and destroy them," ordered the Reverie ground commander. But his troops found no one. Then the attacks began. A Reverie patrol would disappear. A supply depot would explode. Communications would fail for hours. They fight without honor. The Reverie commander complained as another of his bases was sabotaged in the night. His second-in-command watched as a Reverie transport ship exploded overhead. "No," he said quietly. "They fight to win." After 3 weeks of frustrating combat, the Reverie fleets retreated. They had lost over 200 ships while destroying only 5 human vessels. On Earth, Admiral June received the news of their victory, but she did not celebrate. "They will come back," she told her staff, "and they will be angry. The real war is just beginning." The red dust of Mars swirled outside the laboratory windows. Dr. Song hadn't seen daylight in 3 days. She stood surrounded by pieces of a Reverie engine, taken from a ship damaged in the last battle. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, but they sparkled with excitement. "Look at this," she said to her team. She pointed to a crystal component at the center of the drive. "This is what lets them travel faster than light. It bends space in a way we never thought of." Dr. Ba, her assistant, looked concerned. "It took us 50 years to develop our current drives. How long will it take to understand this?" Dr. Song smiled. "I already understand it. The principles are similar to theories we abandoned 30 years ago. We went down a different path, but the Reverie followed this one to its end." The team worked day and night. Within 2 weeks, they had built a small working model of the Reverie drive. Within a month, they had made it 10% more efficient than the original. "It's not just about copying," Dr. Song explained to the military officers who came to see their progress. "It's about improving. Humans have always been good at taking ideas and making them better. On the Reverie homeworld, Intelligence Director Mezin received the report with disbelief. "Impossible," he said, staring at the data. "Our spies must be wrong. Humans cannot have already replicated our drive technology. It took our scientists 3 generations to develop it." His assistant showed him visual evidence. The human ship was clearly using our drive principles, but their energy signature is actually more efficient than ours. Mezin's silver skin darkened with anger. "How? They're primitive. They've only been in space for a short time. They think differently," the assistant said carefully. "They don't follow established patterns. They try many approaches at once. Find out what else they're working on," Mezin ordered. "This changes everything." In a secret facility beneath the old city of Stockholm, a different kind of work was happening. Ta, once the most wanted hacker on Earth, now led a team with full government support. They sat before screens filled with Riveri code. "I'm in," Ta said quietly. The others gathered around his screen. Their network security is advanced but predictable. They haven't changed their basic protocols in 1,000 years. The team worked carefully, moving deeper into the Riveri military networks. What they found was a treasure of information. The Riveri had been conquering other species for thousands of years, always using the same tactics. "Look at this," said Min, one of the younger hackers. "They have a step-by-step playbook for conquest. First intimidate, then attack outlying colonies, then offer surrender terms, then full invasion." Ta nodded. "And they've never had to change it because it always worked. Until us. They copied everything they could find. Battle plans, ship weaknesses, communication codes. The team sent the information to military command hourly." In her headquarters on the moon, Admiral June read the reports with growing excitement. She gathered her top commanders for a new mission. "We're going to give the Riveri some gifts," she explained. "Operation Hidden Dragon begins today." The plan was simple but clever. Human ships would carry fake but convincing technology. They would allow these ships to be captured by the Riveri. Each contained a different piece of misinformation designed to confuse the enemy. A month later, the Riveri captured a human science vessel near Saturn. They found what seemed to be plans for a new weapon system. Their scientists spent weeks trying to understand it before realizing it was impossible to build. The design had a deliberate flaw. Next, they captured a military transport. It contained what appeared to be battle plans showing human defenses concentrated in the Alpha Centauri system. The Riveri sent ships there, only to find minimal resistance while humans attacked their supply lines elsewhere. "They're playing with us," Supreme Leader Kazon raged when he realized what was happening. "No species has ever dared to do this." His advisors looked nervous. "The humans are unpredictable," one said carefully. In orbit around Jupiter, the most ambitious human project was underway. Scientists and engineers from every nation worked together on a space station hidden within the planet's strong magnetic field. Here, Dr. Song led the development of new weapons that combined Riveri principles with human creativity. They took the Riveri's precise energy weapons and made them adaptable. They studied Riveri shields and found ways to change frequencies to slip through them. "The Riveri technology is very advanced," Dr. Song told her team. "But it's rigid. They find one good solution and stick with it forever. We try 1,000 solutions and keep improving." The test results amazed everyone. The new hybrid weapons were twice as effective as expected. The modified shields could withstand Riveri weapons for 3 times longer than their original designs. Earth's leaders watched the test videos with hope. For the first time since the war began, they had technology that could match the Riveri. "How did you do this so quickly?" asked President Garcia during a visit to the Jupiter station. Dr. Song looked tired but proud. "The Riveri developed technology carefully, step by step, over generations. Humans, we throw 1,000 ideas at the wall and see what sticks. We take risks. We make intuitive leaps." She showed the president their newest creation, a small device that could disrupt Riveri ship systems from a distance. They would never have invented this, she explained. It's inefficient and inelegant by their standards, but it works, and sometimes that's all that matters. As news of these breakthroughs spread, human morale soared. Across the colonies, people worked harder, confident that they could now fight back effectively. On Mars, Dr. Song's team celebrated their latest success with a rare day off. They gathered in the observation dome, looking at the stars where the Reverie threat lurked. "Will it be enough?" Dr. Bai asked quietly. Dr. Song watched a shooting star streak across the Martian sky. "It has to be. The Reverie have conquered dozens of species, but they've never met humans before. We've spent our entire history fighting each other and overcoming challenges. Innovation isn't just what we do, it's who we are." Unknown to the humans, on the Reverie homeworld, Supreme Leader Kazan had made his decision. The humans had proven more troublesome than expected. It was time to end this resistance once and for all. He ordered the preparation of the elite 7th Fleet, the mightiest fighting force in the known galaxy. The final battle was coming. The Reverie 7th Fleet moved through space like a perfect machine. 200 warships arranged in a formation that had won 1,000 battles across the galaxy. At their center was the massive dreadnought Final Word, commanded by High Admiral Vex himself. "The humans have been amusing," Vex told his officers. "But now their defiance ends." The Reverie had never lost a war. Their technology was superior. Their tactics were perfected over thousands of years. Their confidence was absolute. On the moon base, Admiral Jun watched the enemy approach on the big screen. The room was quiet. Everyone knew what was coming. The Reverie fleet was larger than all human ships combined. "They're broadcasting on all channels," said a young communications officer. "Let's hear it," Jun said. The voice of High Admiral Vex filled the room. "Attention humans. Your resistance, while impressive for a primitive species, ends today. Surrender now and your people will be allowed to live as subjects of the Reverie Collective." Admiral Jun smiled slightly. "Send our answer." The communications officer pressed a button. The sound of human laughter filled the channel, followed by an old Earth song about never giving up. "All ships, begin Operation Thunderstorm," Jun ordered. Captain Min led the first attack. His squadron of 50 small fighters approached Jupiter at high speed. The Reverie noticed them, but weren't concerned. Such small ships couldn't harm their capital vessels. "They're attempting to hide in Jupiter's radiation belts," a Reverie officer reported. "Should we pursue?" "No need," said Commander Zula. "They can't stay there long. The radiation will kill them." But the human ships had special shielding designed by Dr. Song. They circled deep into Jupiter's gravity well, then used the planet's massive pull to slingshot themselves at incredible speeds toward the Reverie fleet. "They're coming back," shouted the Reverie sensor operator. "At impossible velocities." The human fighters moved too fast for Reverie targeting systems. They shot past the enemy ships, dropping small devices as they went. These devices attached to the Reverie hulls and began broadcasting confusing signals. "Our ships can't communicate clearly," reported a Reverie officer. "Half our fleet is getting false orders." High Admiral Vex remained calm. "Move to secondary communication systems. Advance on Earth as planned." As the Reverie fleet approached Mars, they detected only minimal defenses. They prepared to bypass the red planet entirely. "Wait," said a sensor officer. "I'm detecting movement on the surface." Colonel Sung had hidden his forces in the planet's endless deserts. Now, as the Reverie passed overhead, 5,000 concealed weapon platforms emerged from the rusty sand. They fired in perfect unison, using Dr. Song's new hybrid technology. The blue energy beams cut through Reverie shields as if they weren't there. 20 Reverie ships exploded in the first volley. "Impossible," shouted Commander Zula. "Their weapons can't be that advanced." On Earth, all of humanity joined the fight. Farmers reprogrammed their agricultural drones to carry small jammers that confused Reverie sensors. Ordinary citizens used personal computers to help process battlefield data. Even children contributed. A group of 10-year-olds had designed flight patterns so random that Riveri computers couldn't predict them. The humans are using civilian equipment as weapons, a Riveri officer reported with disbelief. Their orbital telescopes are now blinding our sensors with focused light. High Admiral Vex had never seen anything like it. The Riveri always fought other militaries, but the humans had turned their entire civilization into a weapon. At Jupiter's moon Europa, the main battle began. Admiral Jun had positioned the bulk of Earth's fleet there, hidden beneath the icy surface. As the Riveri approached, the human ships burst through the ice like sea creatures breaking through waves. "Fire everything," ordered Admiral Jun. The new weapons worked better than anyone had hoped. Riveri shields failed. Their hulls cracked. But it wasn't just the technology making the difference. It was how the humans fought. They didn't maintain formations. Each ship acted independently, making decisions based on the changing situation. The Riveri, used to fighting coordinated enemy fleets, couldn't adapt fast enough. "They're everywhere and nowhere," shouted a Riveri captain before his ship exploded. Human fighters deliberately flew so close to Riveri ships that they couldn't be targeted without the Riveri hitting their own vessels. Civilian mining ships drilled holes in Riveri hulls, then injected disruptive materials into their systems. The strangest attack came 12 hours into the battle. Human ships began broadcasting on all frequencies, not threats or demands, but sounds. Children laughing, people singing together, the heartbeats of unborn babies, the waves of Earth's oceans. The Riveri had no defense against this psychological tactic. Many of their crew members reported feeling disturbed and confused. Some couldn't sleep after their shifts, hearing the human sounds in their dreams. "Why are they doing this?" asked a young Riveri officer. "To remind us they're fighting for something we don't understand," replied his commander quietly. By the 24-hour mark, the Riveri had lost 60 ships. Their perfect formation was broken. Their coordinated attack plans were useless against an enemy that changed tactics every hour. High Admiral Vex faced a situation no Riveri commander had encountered in 10,000 years, the possibility of defeat. "We still outnumber them," he reminded his officers. "Press the attack on their main fleet." The Riveri gathered their remaining ships for one massive push toward Earth. If they could reach the human homeworld, they could force a surrender. Admiral Jun was waiting for exactly this move. As the Riveri advanced, she gave the order, "Release the Ghost Fleet." 100 ships appeared suddenly behind the Riveri forces. They had been there all along, using new stealth technology derived from studying Riveri sensors. "We're surrounded," reported a Riveri officer, panic in his voice for the first time. The Ghost Fleet attacked from behind, while Admiral Jun's main forces hit from the front. Caught between two fires, the Riveri ships began to fall quickly. On his flagship, High Admiral Vex watched as the greatest fleet in Riveri history came apart around him. After 36 hours of continuous battle, he made the most difficult decision of his life. "All ships," he ordered, his voice heavy with disbelief, "retreat to Rally Point Omega. The battle is lost." The mighty 7th Fleet, pride of the Riveri Collective, turned and fled in disorder. They left behind 78 destroyed ships and the wreckage of their undefeated reputation. On the moon base, Admiral Jun watched them go. Her officers wanted to celebrate, but she raised her hand for quiet. "This isn't over," she said. "We've won the battle, but the war continues. The Riveri will be back." And Aide approached with a message. "Admiral, the Riveri are calling. They want to discuss terms." Admiral Jun nodded slowly. "Tell them we're ready to talk, but we will never surrender." For the first time in their long history of conquest, the Riveri would have to negotiate with an enemy as equals. The galaxy would never be the same. The space station hung like a silver needle between worlds. It orbited Alpha Centauri, halfway between human and Riveri space. Inside, both species met to decide the future. Diplomat Hyun walked into the large meeting room. She was small in size, but stood straight and confident. The Reveri representatives waited at the table. Their silver skin reflected the bright lights above. "You fought well," said Chief Negotiator Mezax. His voice sounded like metal scraping on stone. "We have never met a species like yours before." Hyun sat down carefully. "We hope never to fight you again, but we will if we must." The peace talks lasted 14 days. The Reveri started with demands. They were used to dictating terms to defeated enemies, but they had not defeated humanity. "These terms are unacceptable," Hyun said on the third day, pushing away the Reveri proposal. "We are not here to surrender. We are here to establish peace between equals." "Equals?" Mizax hissed. "We have ruled space for 50,000 years." "And yet," Hyun replied calmly, "your mighty Seventh Fleet ran from our ships. Think about that." By the 10th day, the Reveri attitude had changed. They no longer demanded. They negotiated. Humans would keep their space. The Reveri would keep theirs. A neutral zone would separate them. "We don't seek your destruction," Hyun told them. "Just your respect." The final agreement was signed on the 14th day. For the first time in Reveri history, they had made peace with another species as equals. News traveled quickly across the galaxy. Many species had suffered under Reveri rule for thousands of years. Now they watched with new hope. The Telarians, a bird-like species conquered 5,000 years ago, sent secret messages to Earth. "Teach us how you fought them," they asked. The Durandi, who had lost their home planet to Reveri mining operations, offered to trade resources if humans would help them resist their masters. Diplomat Hyun brought these messages to Earth's leaders. "We've changed the balance of power in the galaxy," she explained. "Many eyes are watching what we do next." On the Reveri homeworld, their leaders faced difficult questions. For 50,000 years, they had believed they were superior to all other life forms. Now that belief lay shattered. Supreme Leader Kazan called an emergency meeting of the Council of Elders. Their silver faces showed no emotion, but their voices betrayed their fear. "How could primitives defeat our best fleet?" one elder asked. "What if other subject species follow their example?" worried another. Kazan raised his hand for silence. "We must understand these humans," he said. "Study them. Learn everything about them. Find out what makes them different from every other species we have encountered." He turned to the intelligence director. "Begin immediately. I want to know how they think." The Reveri scholars started with human warfare. They studied Earth's history, from ancient battles with spears and swords to modern conflicts with advanced weapons. What they found disturbed them. "These humans have been fighting each other constantly for their entire history," reported the lead scholar. "They have never stopped inventing new ways to win." Another scholar added, "When one human nation developed a new weapon, their enemies quickly copied it and improved it. They learned faster than any species we know." "Most concerning," said the intelligence director, "is that defeat never stops them. They regroup, adapt, and try again with new methods. The concept of final surrender seems foreign to their thinking." Supreme Leader Kazan listened to these reports with growing concern. "Are you saying we cannot defeat them?" "I am saying," the lead scholar replied carefully, "that defeating them once would not be enough. They would keep fighting, keep adapting, until they found a way to win." 5 years passed. The peace between humans and the Reveri remained fragile but held. Trade began between the two species. Cultural exchanges were established. Slowly, understanding grew. Commander Varric stood on the observation deck of a human diplomatic vessel approaching Earth. He had fought in the Great Battle and now served as military attaché to the Reveri embassy on Earth. A young officer named Telex joined him at the window. This was his first assignment and his first time seeing Earth. "It looks so ordinary," Telex said, watching the blue planet grow larger. "How could such a world produce the only species to ever defeat us?" Varric studied the young officer. "Do you know why we lost to them?" "Their technology," Telex suggested. "No," Varric replied. We still had better technology, even at the end. Their numbers. We outnumbered them 3-1. Talax looked confused. Then what was it? Varric pointed to a small screen showing humans going about their day in a city below. Look at them. So different from each other. Arguing, competing, cooperating, all at once. No two thinking exactly alike. He continued, the humans have a saying. They don't know how to quit. In all our conquered worlds, we never encountered that quality before. When we defeated other species, they accepted their place. Humans never would. Is that why we make peace instead of trying again with a larger fleet? Asked Talax. Yes, Varric said simply. Our analysts calculated that even if we committed our entire navy, the humans would eventually find a way to win. They are relentless in a way we cannot match. The ship entered Earth's atmosphere, descending toward the human capital. Varric watched the clouds part, revealing the rebuilt cities below. Remember this lesson, he told the young officer. Strength isn't just about technology or numbers. Sometimes it's about the will to continue when any other species would surrender. As their ship landed, they were greeted by a human delegation. Among them was Admiral June, now Earth's defense minister. She nodded politely to Varric. Welcome back to Earth, Commander, she said. I trust your visit will be more peaceful than your last approach to our world. Varric gave the Riveri gesture of respect, something no Riveri had ever done to another species before the war. We have learned much from you, Admiral, he replied. Perhaps the most important lesson is one we should have learned long ago. And what lesson is that? June asked. Never underestimate a species that has spent its entire history learning how to survive against all odds, Varric said. And never, ever pick a fight with humanity. Behind them, Earth and its people continued their daily lives, unaware that across the galaxy, their reputation had forever changed. They were now known as the species that had done the impossible, a species that had taught the mighty Riveri the meaning of fear. The end.